Hello students, so in this video we shall discuss the further concepts of general principles and isolation of elements. In the previous video we have studied about the important terms, principal ores which are required to know in metallurgy, the different steps, the important steps we have studied, and we have studied the concentration of ore. In that we have studied hydraulic washing, magnetic separation method, froth flotation and leaching of bauxite. There is one more example for the leaching of leaching process. Apart from for bauxite, there is one more that we will be studying. To this diagram I'll come later. Now let us see, in the leaching process which we had studied leaching of alumina or bauxite, that is the ore of aluminium. So in the leaching process, the other metals like silver and gold, that is gold and silver also can be leached, that is concentration of gold and silver ore can be done by leaching process. Let us see how. Generally here, rather than considering gold or silver, I'll generally take it as M, that means metal. It can be gold or silver. Okay, here we know the principle of leaching is that we need a suitable solvent. The ore must be soluble in suitable solvent. Here the suitable solvent which is taken for leaching is either sodium cyanide or potassium cyanide. Sodium cyanide or potassium cyanide is taken as the solvent to dissolve gold and silver. And next, what will be done when we dissolve in this particular solvent? A complex will be formed. After that, the complex will be taken and it will be treated with some other metal, a reducing agent. Then what happens? The metal displaces. Usually comparatively cheaper metal will be taken rather than gold and silver, so that metal will displace this particular gold or silver and gold and silver separates out. Let us see how. So here in the NCERT book you have a general equation taken, and so we will go as per that book. So initially the metal, say the ore of gold or silver will be taken and it is treated with sodium cyanide or potassium cyanide in the presence of air. Remember, in the presence of air, particularly oxygen, in the presence of air. So what happens? The metal is taken, metal ore is taken, and it is treated with cyanide solution, solvent, sodium cyanide or potassium cyanide. So since we are telling it is a solution, it is aqueous solution, so water will be present there, or say you can write aqueous here, plus oxygen. In the presence of oxygen it is carried out. So the metal ore, usually it will be in the solid state, right? Now what do you get? I have told you it forms a complex. What complex will be formed? Here metal cyanide complex will be formed. Here generally we have taken the metal ore here, so that is fine if we write it that way. Okay, now the metal cyanide MCN2 minus. This is a complex form. Now it is an aqueous solution form, which is the byproduct here. Water is present, so OH minus will be present in the solution. Basic ions will be present in the solution. This is the first step, where we have taken the metal ore and it is dissolved in suitable solvent, sodium cyanide or potassium cyanide. In the presence of air, we get a complex formed here, metal complex. Metal complex formed here. Next step, okay, let us balance it. Let me tell you a way to remember this. Usually you can balance it by oxidation number method also. We have studied in redox reactions. You can use that method. Otherwise, easy way of remembering. Here comes 4, double of it, 8, half of 4, 2. Okay, here we need not balance this part. And here, initially what you have taken? 4, and here again 4. Remember this. Okay, it becomes easy to remember. And then here, we are taking that particular complex which is formed. And what are we doing? We are reducing it. We are treating with another metal. Which is another metal that we have taken? Zinc. Zinc acts as a reducing agent here. Zinc acts as reducing agent. What is it? We have taken zinc metal, right? Now what happens? This metal now which we have added displaces the metal. M can be gold or silver. So what happens here is zinc will tell this metal like, okay, I'll form the complex, you just come out. So zinc will combine with cyanide and forms cyanide ions and form its own complex. Zn, the charge is +2, whereas silver gold it is +1. So Zn here Cn4 2 minus. Remember this. Okay, now metal gets into the solution. This complex is formed. Are you getting it? Here it's only 1 minus, here it is 2 minus, and here it is Cn2, here it is Cn4. Now the metal separates out. So this metal is now the concentrated metal ore which we have got. Is that clear? So what we have done, we have taken the metal, treated it with a cyanide solution in the presence of oxygen. Since we have taken solution, we have taken water here, H2O. Generally we have written, you can also write using silver or gold. Instead of M, you can take gold. If it is gold, Au. If it is silver, Ag. Say if you take it as gold, Au plus Cn minus. Instead of writing Cn minus, you can write sodium cyanide or potassium cyanide also, not a problem. NaCN, KCN you can write. Then you need not mention the charge, you know that. Plus H2O plus O2. If it is gold, you have taken AuCN2 whole minus plus. If you have taken NaCN here, then this becomes NaOH. If you have taken KCN here, it becomes KOH. That's all the difference is. Then next you will be taking here, if it is AuCN2 minus plus Zn, then this becomes ZnCN4 2 minus, and here you get gold separated out. Hope it is clear now. So this is a method of leaching. So here ends the processes of concentration of ores. So what were we doing so long? We were concentrating the ore. You remember the 3 important steps. First, what do? We concentrate the ore. In the concentration of ores, what will be done? The majority of the impurities, that is earthly impurities, will be removed. And in the second step, we isolate the metals, that is isolation of the metal will be done. And in the third step, we have purification of the metal that we are doing. Clear? So here ends the concentration method. We'll move on to the next one now. Now the question is, how can you isolate the metal? How the isolation of metal is carried out? Next is isolation of metal. Why I have written reduction of metal oxides? Before knowing this point, I'll explain why. So now we have got the concentrated ore, right? So now imagine you have got concentrated ore, it still has some impurities in it. Only the early impurities are removed. Now say in leaching process, froth flotation process, or magnetic separation or hydraulic washing, whatever, we have just removed the basic impurities. Still there are impurities. So what are we doing now? we have to subject that particular ore to reduction. You have studied what is reduction, isn't it? It is gaining of electrons or removal of oxygen, we say. Now we have to subject it to reduction. So before subjecting it to reduction, remember, it is easy to reduce. It is easy to reduce oxides than any other form of ores. It is easy to reduce oxide ores than reducing sulfide ores or carbonate ores or so on. So first what we do is, first we convert any ores into its oxide form, and next we are going to subject this to reduction. Are you getting the point? So first, this means the oxides into reduction. We are subjecting it to reduction. Let us see how. So first what you have to do, first step is conversion of ore into its oxides. Conversion of ores into its oxide. That means conversion of concentrated ores into its oxides. How it can be done? There is two methods. One is called as calcination, and the other method is called as roasting. Which are the two methods? Calcination and roasting. What will be done in calcination? In calcination, now how do we know which ore we have to subject to calcination or roasting? In calcination, what happens, you know, volatile impurities will be removed. Volatile matters or volatile impurities will be removed. So if you want to know whether you have to subject an ore for calcination or roasting, see which type of ore it is. Say for example, volatile matter, I mean to say carbon dioxide, water, these kind of impurities if it is present. Volatile means which can be evaporated, which is unstable. So such matters if it is present, we can separate using this particular method called as calcination. So how do you define calcination? Calcination is the process of heating the concentrated ore in the absence of air or in the limited supply of air. Are you getting the point? I told you absence of air. So here the condition is either air supply will be completely stopped or in the limited supply of air. So we do not want much oxygen content here. So based on the condition, either sometimes air will not be supplied or sometimes very limited amount of air will be supplied here. Are you getting? So let us see some examples, then it will be clear. Say Fe2O3 XH2O. This is ore of iron which has volatile matter in it. It is water. Water is the volatile matter here. So what do? We heat it either in the limited supply of air or in the absence of air. So what happens? This part is volatile, right? That separates out. How does it separate? Plus XH2O, Fe2O3. Remember like this. Here you will have Fe2O3 into XH2O. Here you will get a plus sign. This is one example. One more example is, what is this? Zinc carbonate, ZnCO3 carbonate ore of zinc. Again, heat. When we heat it, which is the volatile matter here? Carbon dioxide is the volatile matter which escapes. What is remaining? Carbon dioxide has escaped. Zinc along with one more oxygen. Zinc oxide remains. One more example. Say if you have calcium carbonate and magnesium carbonate mixture, you are heating, which is the volatile matter here again. Carbon dioxide is the volatile matter. Carbon dioxide will escape, leaving behind calcium oxide and magnesium oxide. So this is about calcination. When calcination is carried out? When volatile substance is present or volatile matter is present. Now let us see about roasting. Roasting is the process of heating the ore just below the melting point of the metal. So what are we doing? We will heat the ore in the presence of oxygen or in the presence of air. So here ore is heated but just below the melting point. Remember this point, just below the melting point. Why? If you heat it above the melting point, then what is the use of isolating, or how can you isolate the metal? You have to go for one more method there again, isn't it? So heating the ore just below the melting point of the metal in the presence of air. So air will be supplied here. Which type of metal ores can be subjected to roasting? It is sulfide ores. Sulfide ores will be subjected to roasting. Remaining volatile matters, if it is present, we subject it to calcination. Usually sulfide ores are subjected to roasting. Example, what is this? Zinc sulfide, zinc blend we say. What are we doing? In roasting, we heat it in the presence of oxygen. Heat it. Then what are we doing in this method? We are converting the substance or the ore into its oxide form. Here you can see the oxides formed, right? Here, same way here also, which is the gas that will be liberated? Sulfur plus oxygen. Sulfur dioxide will liberate, leaving behind zinc oxide. Same way, if you consider lead sulfide as the example, lead oxide forms. We heat it in the presence of oxygen. Lead oxide forms with the liberation of sulfur dioxide. Now what happens to that sulfur dioxide? Will it go waste? No, they don't allow it to go waste. Instead, what they do, they use it for the manufacturing of sulfuric acid, H2SO4. Using sulfur dioxide, they prepare sulfuric acid. So that will be collected and used for the manufacturing of sulfur dioxide. One more example for roasting. If you have sulfide ore of copper, then heating in the presence of oxygen just below the melting point of the metal, we get oxide of it along with sulfur dioxide liberation. Now here what you have to see is where you have to balance it. Just check out about balancing. Here sulfur dioxide. So the balancing comes out as 2, 3, 2 and 2, since it is oxygen to balance. Again here 2, 3, 2, 2. Same 2, 3, 2 and 2. Just check out whether it is right or not. Okay. So this was about roasting. Now using these methods, we have converted the metal ores into its concentrated ores into its oxide form. Which is the next step? Next step is reduction of metal oxides. Now how reduction of metal oxides will be carried out? Before that, I want to mention few points here. If suppose iron is present, if suppose iron sulfide is present along with copper sulfide, that is along with sulfide ore of copper, usually it will be present as Cu2S and Fes. It's important because they keep asking the composition of it. Its name is copper matte. We call it as copper matte. They'll ask you, write the composition or give the composition of copper matte. We say Cu2S and FeS is the composition of copper matte. So in copper matte, FeS acts as impurity for the extraction of copper, I mean to say. Then if you don't want this as this, which is an impurity, when we subject to roasting here, what happens? It will react with oxygen. You get iron oxide and sulfur dioxide being liberated, right? Now this will be treated with silica. So usually there is a furnace. Roasting is also carried out in a furnace called as reverberatory furnace. Roasting is carried out in a furnace, reverberatory furnace. Okay, here what happens? This particular iron oxide which will be formed, it reacts with silica. Silica acts as a flux. I'll tell you what is a flux. Silica is sand and it forms iron, Fe, Si, how many oxygen? 2, 3, O3, iron, silicate. I'll come to this later again. Here this is the impurity, iron oxide. Silica is purposely added. Why it is purposely added? To remove the impurity. This particular substance which we add is called as flux. And here this one which is formed, flux and impurity together, we call it as slag. Slag, S-L-A-G. So sometimes they ask, which is the slag separated in the extraction of copper? We say iron silicate is the slag that is separated. So hope till here it's clear. Now let us see the next steps. Next step is reduction of metal oxide, isn't it? So during the reduction of metal oxide, what happens? What you have to do if you have to reduce something, we have to use reducing agents, isn't it? We will use reducing agents. Metal oxides will be treated with reducing agent. Reducing agent. That is how it can be reduced. Now, which is the reducing agent here? Reducing agent can be either carbon or carbon monoxide or any other metals. Or other metals. I need not mention any other. I'll tell you why. So carbon is also called as coke, C-O-K-E. Coke or carbon monoxide or other metals will be used as reducing agents. Now for the choice of reducing agent, if you want to know whether this reducing agent is suitable or which reducing agent is suitable, we have to follow some principles. In general, let me tell you what happens or how the reaction will look like when metal oxide reacts with some reducing agent. Say metal oxide in general, I'll consider it as MXOY. Say coke is the reducing agent. Here carbon reacts with Y moles of coke, reacts with oxygen of oxide of metal, which forms carbon monoxide, whereas this metal separates as X moles of M. Isolation of metal. Otherwise, if instead of carbon monoxide, instead of carbon you're using carbon monoxide, if suppose carbon monoxide is used, here you get carbon dioxide. That's all the differences. That's a general equation of reduction. Now, how do you know which one to choose? So we have many methods, out of which one is the usage of thermodynamic principles, or we say thermodynamic interpretations are used. Thermodynamic principles. Now, what is thermodynamic principle? Before this, let us know there are different branches of metallurgy again. One is pyrometallurgy. In pyrometallurgy, we will know the temperature conditions for thermal reduction. Thermal reduction is keeping temperature as the base. On the basis of temperature, the reduction process is called thermal reduction. So pyro refers to heat. Pyro means heat, or say temperature, related to temperature. So thermal reductions are carried out based on the temperature conditions which we get to know. That is under this pyrometallurgy. It's a branch. One more, we have hydrometallurgy. You know, hydro refers to water. So here hydro means using aqueous solutions, the reductions will be carried out, and that is why it's called as hydrometallurgy. That's a part. Now let us see thermodynamic principles. How using thermodynamic principles we'll know. We have a well-known equation, delta G is equal to delta H minus T delta S. What is the condition we say? We say that if delta G is negative, then the process is spontaneous. This is what we say, isn't it? Here we use a term, if delta G is negative, then the reduction is feasible. Reduction is feasible. Feasible means the reaction can take place. Reaction is possible. I have told you about it. So using thermodynamic principle, you know what is delta G? Delta G is change in Gibbs free energy. Change in Gibbs free energy. Delta H is change in enthalpy. T is temperature. Delta S is change in entropy. So based on this, so we will calculate for a particular reaction. Now if a reaction is carried out, we will calculate its delta H value. If we know the temperature, if we know delta S value, entropy value, entropy, you know, disorderness. If we know this, then we check out whether delta G comes out to be negative. If it is negative, yes, the reduction can be carried out. This is what we say.